What's happening, everyone? Today I want to talk about superheroes, but not just any kind of superhero, the adult kind of superhero.
No. Wait.
Not that kind, you nasty. Get your head out of the gutter. I'm referring more to stuff like Invincible, The Boys, Kick-Ass, and if you're feeling a little obscure, Super Crooks. But today we're not talking about any of those. The one in particular we're talking about is 2008's Hancock, starring Will Smith. Now, the reason I'm talking about this movie is because the other day I saw a post on Threads saying that Hancock perfectly fits into a movie that has a great start and a terrible ending. And I got kind of curious because I haven't seen the movie since I was 9 years old. And for context's sake, I am currently 27.
Damn.
Come on, bro. 27 is not old. Damn, bro. Y'all really gonna do me like that? I thought we were close. But since I saw that post, I decided to rewatch the movie to find out if this person was cooking with their opinion or if they were faulty. And they're kind of right. Now, I still think Hancock is a pretty good movie, but like this person's statement is highly accurate. This movie does have a weird drop-off in the latter half of the film that I just don't really understand why they executed it the way that they did. Because I don't think in particular the content that's there is bad, it's just the way it's executed. But we'll get there. So let's break this movie down from beginning to end and figure out where Hancock went wrong. This movie opens up perfectly letting you know it's an early 2000s film. We got the sepia tone colors, we got the gelled hair, we got a bank heist of some kind or whatever this crime is. It's so good. You can't beat that early 2000s vibes. I am not beating the old allegations, am I? No. But we cut away from this crime in progress to see this little kid waking up Hancock being like, "Hey yo, my nigga, get up, there's people robbing, you gotta stop them." So Hancock drunkenly wakes up, grabs himself a bottle of alcohol from underneath the bench, flies off in the most uncouth way possible, getting drunk through the air, flying through birds, almost hitting through buildings and planes. Like, this guy is a complete and total mess. Then he stops the crime in the most inefficient way possible. Like, I thought Mark Grayson be messing up cities when he be fighting people, but Hancock is a whole different level. Like, bro, nothing you did here was entirely necessary. Like, no one is even strong enough to fight you, yet you out here destroying stuff and causing more collateral damage than the thieves themselves. However, this opening scene perfectly encapsulates the character of Hancock. He is not really the best kind of superhero. He is arguably the worst person that would get superpowers next to like an actual supervillain and psychopath. Because he's foul-mouthed, he causes collateral damage, he's very inefficient, he's very dirty at the moment, as you can see his disheveled look. He is just a complete and total mess and does not care about his public image, but he still feels the need to help people. Also, he has an extremely short temper because these guys shoot at him, break his glasses, then he proceeds to smash their car through multiple buildings and leave it on top of whatever the hell this thing is. And it is brought up after this that it is like $9 million worth of damages, maybe more, which like, god damn, you might as well have just stayed your ass on the bench, brother, man, geez. But we move away from Hancock to meet our other main character, Ray, played by Jason Bateman. He is a guy that is trying to make the world a better place by convincing billionaires to give away their medication and healthcare to people that are less fortunate on the verge of death.
You serious?
Yeah, brother, like 17 years later, that is still an ineffective tactic. Rich people don't like giving away money for free, even if it helps other people. So like, this was bound to fail. But on his way home in defeat, he gets stuck on the train tracks, and this personally triggered me because, fun fact about me, I used to be a train conductor for almost 2 years, specifically a freight train conductor like he was about to get hit by. And you would be astonished how many people get hit by trains in a year. I thank God to this day I was not on a train that collided with someone, because there were so many reports of people getting hit by trains because they were just being stupid. Like, a train can't stop. There's so much weight. It's so heavy, so fast. It's not gonna stop on a dime. Stay off the fucking tracks. Now, Hancock shows up, saves Ray in the most inefficient way possible. Everyone's pissed off at Hancock for the way that he handled the situation because, you know, he could have just picked up the car and flown into the air, or better yet, when he flipped the car, he could have just stepped away from the train instead of shoulder checking it, which, like, yeah, they're right. He didn't need to do it this way. But Ray, being the optimist, is like, hey, listen, I could have died here. He saved my life. I'm not going to be mad about it, so thank you, Hancock. Hancock then flies him and his car home, and then Ray invites him in for dinner. And we see that there's some kind of tension between Hancock and Ray's wife, Mary, but we don't really know what that's about just yet. We'll find out later on in the film. We also meet Ray's son, Aaron, who is currently being bullied by a kid in the neighborhood named Michelle, who we'll meet in just a minute. But after the scene is over, Ray pitches an idea to Hancock. He's like, listen, bro, you have a horrible public image. I know how to rebrand you and make you into a true superhero that people will love. Just let me help you. So Hancock, after some thought about it, eventually agrees. He comes back to Ray's house the following day, and he runs into Michelle, the kid that was bullying Aaron. And a little fun fact about Hancock, he does not like being called an asshole, but he will give you a few chances to not call him an asshole. And unfortunately, this little dipshit of a kid didn't really catch the hint, which, like, this is a recurring theme in this franchise, it's a single movie. In this movie, the people of this universe seem to think they're like, they act the way that criminals in the Arkham games act, where they're like, oh, I can take Batman. Oh, it's gonna be easy. I can defeat him.
No, you ain't.
And that's just a dude in a suit with gadgets. Hancock is black drunk Superman. I don't understand why anyone in this universe tests him. Like, there's a difference between standing up to him because you believe you're right in a situation and then being an idiot that is...
You ever had a dream that you had...
Goodness gracious, I can't speak. That's evoking the wrath of a god. Like, this little boy called Hancock an asshole. You realize you're a normal human, right? And he is a superpower being that is indestructible, has super strength, super speed, like, and very little morals, and is most likely drunk right now. What made you think, like, the level of entitlement here is insane. But thankfully, you know, Hancock handles it. Unfortunately, Ray comes out while he's waiting for the kid to drop back down, and I don't know how this kid survived this. Like, I would have thought the kid would have, like, broke his back when he caught him, but I guess not because movie logic. And Ray is obviously like, you can't do that, bro. But nah, the kid deserved it. Fuck that kid. After this, Ray and Hancock get to talking, and Ray comes up with a plan in order to get him on the side of the people. He tells Hancock, he's like, listen, if you go to jail for all the property damage that you caused, while you're in there, crime is going to spike because, you know, black drunk Superman isn't going to be patrolling the streets, stopping criminals in the most fucked up way possible. So while he's in there, everyone's going to be like,
help me! Help me! Nigga! Help me!
And they're going to want to let him out of prison to help them stop some kind of crime. And while he's there, he can work on himself and become a better hero. It's a pretty sound plan, and although Hancock is pretty against it, he eventually agrees, reluctantly, and goes to prison. He gives a nonsensical speech about how he's going to do better that he really doesn't mean, and Ray writes it for him, and I love the fact that he's blatantly looking at cards in his hand as he's saying the speech. Like, it is wholly disingenuous. But I do love this next sequence here of seeing Hancock grow and become a better person while he's incarcerated, because we start from day one where everyone in the prison pulls up on him, which again, look at all these people. They think they can jump Hancock. This man took bullets to the face and shrugged it off, then picked up a car, flew away, and slammed it into a building. What makes y'all think jumping him is going to work? It's not like they have any kind of special superpowers or supervillain technology. Like, it's different in DC and Marvel when supervillains attack powerful superheroes because it's like they either have powers themselves or they have technology that can compensate for the superhero's abilities or they know their weakness. Something along those lines. These are just normal humans thinking they can jump a god. Like, what are y'all doing? And surely enough, things go south because these two idiots press Hancock, and he's like, listen, if y'all don't get out of my way, I'm gonna shove his head up your ass, and it's not gonna be fun. And of course, they pushed him, and he did that. I'm pretty sure I can't show that on YouTube, so I don't know, just go look up the scene, bro. But that was his day one. But by the time Hancock ends up leaving, he's learned to become a better person. We see during the montage he refuses to talk during therapy sessions, but he eventually opens up. He does bring up stuff about himself, and they all reinforce the fact that he's valid. They understand what he's saying, and he feels that to his core. And it's like, okay, that's good, that's great, he's growing. And the biggest step of character development is he's always shooting these threes during the rec time that they get in the courtyard. But one day he misses a shot, the ball bounces out of the prison, and he jumps to go get it. All of the cops are freaking out. They're like, oh shit, Hancock got out of prison. What the hell are we gonna do? Sound the alarms. And he has a brief moment where he considers leaving, but he decides to go back in. And I really like that. That's a great moment of character development. But then after all the trials and tribulations he goes through while he's in prison, Hancock finally gets a call from the chief of police. And earlier on, we see that Ray brought him a super suit, And he was like, I'm not wearing that, it looks stupid. But because he's learned to grow and become a better person, he makes himself more presentable. He shaves off his gruff beard, which I love the fact that he has to do it with his bare hands because nothing else could pierce his skin and hair to shave. Now, how does he keep his crisp hairline? I've got no idea. Maybe the boy is flying off planet hitting up Thrag's barber. You know what? That's spoilers for the next season of Invincible. Y'all don't know about the crisp hairline of Thrag the Destroyer. But anyway, Hancock shows up on scene, and a lot of the practice that he did with Ray while he was incarcerated is like learning to be better with, civilian relations, being nice to cops and firemen and stuff like that. And he's awkwardly being like,
good job. Good job. Really good job.
Bro, what are you talking about, man?
The chief of police feels this is very weird, gives him the breakdown of the situation. There's hostages inside with bombs strapped to their chest. There's an officer pinned down near the front door, and there's a bunch of armed thugs in there with high caliber rounds that are screwing up everything. So Hancock's like, all right, bet, I got this. He flies down, walks through, and I love this moment where he's trying to be nice and ask the woman if he can pick her up, and this happens.
Do I have permission to touch your body?
Yes!
It's not sexual.
Get me the hell out of here!
So Hancock saves her, then he zips around catching every one of the thugs that's inside of this place, and then there's just one guy left, which I recognize him from something, but I can't remember where this dude is. I'll have to edit in wherever I've known him from.
So that was a fucking lie.
Hancock is originally trying to be nice. He's like, listen, bro, stop the bank robbery. It's over. You guys just let it go. And the guy's like, nah, I got a dead man switch and all these people are going to die. So you're going to break into that bank vault and you're going to get me all the money and then you're going to fly me out of here. And then he called him an asshole, which, as we already know, you don't call Hancock an asshole.
Call me an asshole. One more time.
I love this moment here where he comes out, gives the cop the hand, and he's like, good job, everyone. And they're like, nah, bro, you did a good job. And everyone clearly is happy that Hancock saved everyone, and they acknowledge him as a true hero. And you could see that he's affected by this because he's been so bad at being a hero, he doesn't know what it's like to be appreciated. And I really love this moment. Now, before we move on from this, I want to mention something, that early 2000s movies were really the kings of superhero movies in regards to saving people. Like, not saying superhero movies nowadays don't save people in their movies, but they focus more on the narrative and the character development rather than they show the hero being a hero. I'm not the only person who has had this problem. Like, within the last decade or two, we've seen a lot of superhero films where they just focus on the narrative and the characters, and like the superheroes just fight the big bad guy at the end, which is a given, but that's not really them saving people. It's not them being heroic, being superheroes. So I love the fact that these early 2000s movies were so focused on heroes actually saving heroes. This whole sequence of Hancock having to save genuine, innocent civilians that need his help just works so well, and I really miss that in superhero media. Like, I like seeing that. But anyway, we move on from this, and Hancock, Ray, and Mary go out for a celebratory dinner after he saved the city. Everybody's loving him, and we have this heartfelt moment where we actually learn about Hancock's backstory. Ray asks him if he's like an alien from another planet, and Hancock's like, nah, I don't really know who I am. He's like, I know I'm from Miami, but that's about it. He's like, I had a brain injury 80 years ago. I woke up, had no idea who I was, so much so to the fact when the nurse told me to give her my John Hancock, I thought that was my name, and that's why he's called Hancock, which is like really sad way to develop a superhero name. Like, most superheroes, their name is like awe-inspiring and super cool. Like, Spider-Man, he's got the abilities of a spider, so that's why he calls himself Spider-Man. Batman, his phobia of bats developed into him becoming Batman and using it to scare the criminals. Superman, the giant S on his chest of the House of L, that's why he's Superman. But then Hancock's like, nah, I got amnesia from a recovery of a brain injury, and I thought that Hancock was my actual name instead of just, what people ask for when they want you to sign your name on something. Like, damn, bro, that's just sad. What the fuck? But he mentions in this scene that he doesn't know who he is, where his powers came from, or if there are any other people in the world just like him. And we see this really strikes a chord with Mary, which, like, you would think maybe is because she just empathizes with people really well. But given that she was very suspicious of Hancock when they first met earlier on in the movie, there's clearly something more going on here. And after this very heartfelt scene, this is when the movie completely goes downhill.
And here we go.
Yes, so Mary is also a superpowered individual just like Hancock, and This is where the writing of this movie just completely falls off because everyone just starts acting incompetent. Like, the rest of this film was written really well. Everyone felt like normal and honest human beings with genuine reactions to things. But then from the moment Mary throws Hancock through the fridge, everyone starts acting so fucking stupid. And the best way I can describe it is that it feels like all of the studio mandates were back-ended into the latter half of this film. Everyone knows of studio mandates. Everyone knows that studios be putting things in movies that they personally want or they believe is going to resonate with audiences, so they force the filmmaker to put it into the film regardless of how it affects the story. And in Hancock, it feels like all of those things were back-ended to the end of the movie. Because within this last half of the movie, we have love triangles, we have big CGI superhero fights, we have the best friends break up, we have the main character gets injured and has to recuperate, we have the big final battle against the villains. Like, all of the studio mandate stuff is just back-ended into the latter half of this movie, and it just feels wrong because of it. Because the movie didn't need to be like this. None of this stuff needed to be in the film for it to end really well. But Hancock wants to know who Mary is and what's going on and what she knows about him. So the next day, he shows up at the house and he starts doing this hilarious thing where he's like testing Mary by like breaking this fork on her arm and smashing it with a rolling pin. And before he can bash her head with a pan, he's like, listen, I can do this all day. Damn, that's crazy. Hancock could do it all day before Steve Rogers. That's wild. But Mary's like, listen, I'll talk to you. I'll meet you at your place. I'll explain what's going on. It's like, okay, cool. So she shows up there, transitions into like superhero attire. Like, ma'am, like, you didn't have to get all dolled up to go see this man. Like, what are you doing here? But instead of having a normal conversation with Hancock, she like vaguely tells him that they're both gods, and then she's just like, yeah, you don't really need to know anything else. Oh yeah, I'm your sister, which is a lie. And Hancock's like, all right, bullshit. If you don't want to tell me the truth, I'm gonna go tell your husband that you've got superpowers and force you to tell me the truth. So he flies off to do that, and you would think Mary would be like, all right, chill. I'll just tell you everything. We can have a normal conversation like normal people. But instead, she tackles him into the middle of the city street and gets mad at him saying that, oh, I can't do this with you like I did for the past 3,000 years. And it's like, ma'am, what are you talking about? He has amnesia. He doesn't know who he is or who you are. What do you mean you're not going to do this with him? All the dude is asking you to do is explain who he is, which, by the way, she never does. We get an explanation of how their powers are connected and some of the things that he did, but we never even learn what the fuck his real name is or any of the other history that he has for his extremely long immortal life. Like, this is absolutely insane. But the two of them get into a fight in the street because she has the same kind of tick just like Hancock.
Call me crazy one more time.
Cuckoo, better not hit me with that truck.
What the fuck is happening right now?
Also, I understand it's 2008 and people didn't really have phones today that could record stuff like we do nowadays, but you mean to tell me there's not like a security camera or like a news crew nearby, something that could record the mayhem that's happening? No? Nothing at all? Okay. But the two of them get into their fight, and conveniently, they end up fighting and crash landing in front of Ray. He looks out the window of his destroyed office building and sees his wife, which, like, bro is on like the top of a skyscraper. How the fuck can he see the, you know, it doesn't matter. So now we get the melodramatic conflict where Mary's like, yeah, I've got superpowers and I can't do this. And then Ray and Hancock are in like a love triangle situation because she tells him that her and Hancock are fated to be together, kind of in a similar way that like Hawkman and Hawkgirl are like reincarnated lovers throughout history, or at least one of the adaptations of Hawkman and Hawkgirl. So she's like, that's what me and Hancock are. We're supposed to be together. But she's like, I don't agree with that because I love you, Ray. And it's like, okay, cool. Could you tell Hancock who he is, please? But
No, 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 hell no, no.
But no, instead we gotta do the melodrama thing where all of our heroes split up from each other and Hancock goes to get some alcohol because he's about to relapse, but then there is a robbery happening at the time. He stops it with this cool western scene where he throws a chocolate bar at the guy to stop him from shooting, but Hancock ends up getting shot, and we see that Hancock has become vulnerable because when Mary and Hancock come together, it results in them losing their powers because it's really dumb the gods apparently want to be human and live human lives and grow old and be in love, so when they're with their pair, they start to lose their abilities and become more mortal. But, like, why? We don't learn why. They just kind of say it as a justification, as a reason why Hancock could be hurt. And, like, this is what I mean with, like, studio mandate stuff. Because, like, clearly this movie was made for him to be invincible and indestructible. But they were like, okay, we need a way that he could almost die in the movie, so you need to bring up some kind of weakness. And instead of introducing a supervillain for him to fight that augments themselves or has technology that could go up against him and hurt him, they're just like, oh yeah, we'll just add in a love interest that can injure him. And I think the lore of them being a fated pair that lose their abilities is interesting. It's just not executed well in this movie. So Hancock is now injured. He's in the hospital, and this is what I mean when I say people are being incredibly stupid. Mary is fully aware that the closer her and Hancock are to each other, the worse their abilities become and the more mortal they become. But instead of being like, oh, Hancock got shot, let me fly to Mexico for like a couple of hours so he can heal, and then I'll come back. She goes to see him in the hospital. Why the fuck would you do that? That's so stupid! Yo, it's Editing Villain here, and it occurred to me while I was editing the video together that Hancock is around Mary at multiple different points in the movie, and his powers don't diminish once. It just randomly spawns at the end of the movie because they need him to be vulnerable. God, this is so stupid. And then while she's there, conveniently, all the criminals that Hancock has caught over the movie break into the hospital to kill him. And the thing is, this is what I'm talking about when I say these guys are stupid. And this has to be the most convenience I have seen in a movie in I don't know how long. Because these guys break out of prison. They're like, we want to kill Hancock because he threw us in prison. He cut off my hand. He shoved your head up his ass. All that kind of nonsense. And they break out, and their plan is to just shoot him with guns. You know that doesn't work. Especially the dude who robbed the bank, because they shot a fucking missile at him and he parried it. Like, what are you doing? You have a normal pistol. What the fuck do you think is gonna happen here? But because they've got plot armor, they managed to find Hancock at the one point in time where he isn't indestructible. And it's not because they knew this would happen. It's not like they were working with Mary as a plan to kill him so she could be immortal and all-powerful and be with Ray. That would have been an interesting way to navigate the story, but that's not the case here. They just conveniently and coincidentally found Hancock on the one day that he isn't indestructible, and it coincided with them going to kill him. Like, it's so stupid. There's so much... Oh, the level of convenience, it irritates me so. But Hancock gets into a fight with them. Mary gets shot during the process, and he has to defeat them while she's undergoing surgery. She's dying, he's dying. It's a whole thing, and this whole fight really sucks. So Hancock manages to beat the guys. Ray saves the day by cutting off the last guy's hand so he can't finish off shooting Hancock. And then Hancock dies briefly, but then he gets up because of the hero moment, and he starts jumping away from the hospital so that him and Mary's abilities will come back together until he's able to fly, which, like, this moment is directed well and the music is cool, so it feels impactful, but when you stop and think about everything that's going on that caused them to get to this point, it just really falls apart. And then the movie ends with a little 1 month later time skip where we see that Hancock carved out on the moon Ray's logo for his company as like the biggest advertisement pole that I've ever seen in all recorded history. And then we see that Mary, Ray, and Aaron are all happy. They're a super happy family together and whatnot. And Hancock has moved to New York, and he's the hero of New York now, which, like, they mentioned this earlier in the movie. Like, when Hancock first stopped the criminals in the intro to the film, the chief of police or whoever this was like, yo, maybe Hancock should go to New York or something and get out of LA because all he does is cause us problems. But, like, by the end of the movie, Hancock has become the genuine hero of LA and people like him, and we saw that his presence caused crime to spike 30% in LA. And he just leaves and moves to New York because, well, he needs to stay away from Mary so that his abilities work. But, like crime's gonna spike when they know you just went to New York unless you come back every so often that you hear there's a crime here. Like, what is gonna happen to them now that you're just gone, bro? But the movie doesn't delve into any of that. Instead, he has a heroic final fly, and then there's a post-credit scene where he stops this criminal who's played by Mike Epps. I almost forgot his name. I was trying to remember his name for the longest time when I was watching it. Couldn't remember it. You are watching me remember. His name is Mike Epps in this recording right now, and I'm leaving this in. But he goes to stop him from taking a hostage, and everything was going smooth and chill until...
Let's make it happen, asshole!
It was at this moment that he knew he fucked up.
Yeah, he called him an asshole, so obviously things aren't going to go well for poor old Mike Epps here. But yeah, that's Hancock. So I do think this movie falls off in the latter half. I think if they would have executed it better, it would have worked out. Like if Mary wanted to kill Hancock so she wouldn't have to worry about ever losing her powers again, that would have been interesting. If Mary was secretly evil and she was manipulating Ray for something, that would have been cool as well. If the villains kidnapped Ray and his son and were like, hey, listen, Hancock, you know, we don't know what your weakness is, but we want you dead. So show up here, prepared to die, however you're able to do that. Otherwise, we're going to kill the kid and the father, right? I feel like that would have been cool. And then he could have hung out with Mary for a bit and lost his abilities and then gone to face them off in a big, epic, climactic battle where he doesn't have his indestructibility. Like, that would have been better. Like, there's numerous ways they could have executed this latter half of the film that would have been a lot better than what we got, but it is what it is. Even with this final act being very rough, I still think Hancock is a pretty fun movie, and I would recommend you checking it out if you've never seen it before. But yeah, that's all I gotta say. So I'm the innocent villain. Remember, folks, you're innocent to proven villainous. Let me know if there's anything in particular you want me to check out in the comments down below, and I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.